Axonius Federal Systems gives federal agencies the confidence to control complexity by mitigating threats, navigating risks, automating response times, and complying with federal cybersecurity guidelines. AFS is the only federal solution available that integrates with hundreds of sources to provide asset observability. Hello from Omaha. My name is Ross Fortune. I'm recording from DoDIIS 2024, where national security officials are examining the future of integrated defense through IT superiority. Joining me now are Tim Sydnor, DIA CISO, and Sydnor and Kensinger, DIA Senior Technical Advisor. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the intelligence cyber threat landscape is evolving. It's constantly changing. It doesn't stand still. How do you keep ahead of these evolving threats?
Certainly, it's a continual challenge in the business of cybersecurity, and I don't think unique to our intelligence community, certainly across our DoD and federal sector. I would articulate that the only uniqueness, if you will, to the intelligence community is, of course, in many cases, our data sensitivities, which can have a direct impact to our core mission, right? The intelligence communities and DIA's core mission is, of course, information advantage, and cybersecurity plays a critical role in enabling that mission to make sure that information is not only secure, but that we also maintain the integrity and therefore accuracy of information. And then finally, of course, the last factor of the RMF cybersecurity or CIA triad is availability. And so that's crucial from a DIA mission standpoint, that information is available at the point of need. Certainly that's true in our role to the support to the global warfighter, and of course in any conflict, to make sure that not only is our network secure, the information integrity is high, but then the availability for that warfighter at the most crucial point of need.
Yeah, so to enable this, I'd say we stay abreast of technologies within our space. So we're constantly looking at the market, looking at our requirements, aligning with tools that are out there, kind of staying abreast of our tools, requirements, and understanding where we're heading with that future space. So we keep, trend on pace with the community. So I think that's one way we, in addition to the people, how we, stay abreast of changes.
Well, you mentioned the people. I'll move to that. There is this race for talent. You're not just trying to get cybersecurity talent from the private sector. You're not competing with them, also with other agencies, even within the IC. What are the big challenges that you're facing, and how are you tackling them in hiring, retaining, training, all that stuff with people?
I would say at this point in my career, and I've been in the intelligence community, defense intelligence community writ large, specifically going on 39 years now. And so in that regard, one of the actually most exciting areas of our program, people many times focus on technology and the value that technology is bringing, the new capabilities, certainly the advancement in those technology areas. But one of the most exciting areas is the emergence of our new generation, if you will, our young talent that is coming in through programs like our internship program that bring us in the civilian ranks some of these really, really brilliant and talented folks out of programs like STEM programs. And quite frankly, in many cases, and what I'm seeing in the cybersecurity space is we don't necessarily need to target and compete for mature or experienced cybersecurity folks. That foundational engineering skill that is coming out of academia at a steady pace, in recruiting that talent into cybersecurity, where cybersecurity may not have been their specific interest, but to get that kind of really talented engineering level skills and to immerse them in a program like ours, a cybersecurity program in the intelligence community, we've seen really substantial return on investments beyond our probably wildest dreams, if you will. And then the key to maintaining that talent, from my perspective, you can't compete financially with the opportunities that individuals with those kind of skills, engineering skills, and then in turn, really impressive cybersecurity experience, 2-3 years into the DIA tenure, they're highly valuable in the marketplace. And what we see keeping them is the unique opportunity that you can't get elsewhere of playing an impactful role in our actual operational mission, as I talked about that information advantage challenge that we have at DIA and the direct impact that these folks can have. And so throughout my career, I've actually had a good bit of success in that regard. We take some of this young talent, and I'll throw this out there as a recruiting point, but we empower them in actually prominent roles. One such role and one such talent that comes to mind is we brought in a young DIA officer with a really strong engineering background. We put him in charge, total charge of one of our major cybersecurity inspections that we go through in the DoD. And the outcome was an unprecedented 100% score, resulting in a direct personal note from our Deputy Secretary of Defense. So that's a noteworthy example of how some of this real strong engineering talent is having a big effect on our mission. And the key is empowerment and giving them a role that has impact to the national security mission. You just can't get that elsewhere. So that's our key, and sort of attract them, get them addicted to the mission, so to speak, and the impact that they can have. Because financially, we certainly just can't compete, but we can compete in the uniqueness of our mission and the impact you can have, really, on national security.
For sure.
It's hard to go after Tim after he covers all these points, but you can hear the excitement in his voice, and I think that's kind of what it takes, right? So when we sit down and talk to these junior to mid-level engineers and like explain some of the challenges we have, not only as a lead role, but also like really kind of get in the technical space of the challenges and what they could do as a project and kind of take ownership of in that role that would differentiate them from their peers and opportunities that they can, embrace on that Tim had discussed. I think we typically get people very excited quickly, right? The mission space itself is exciting, and then the opportunities combined with that. This is, from a cyber point of view, for sure an exciting time, to be like in the market. Obviously, we're competing with everyone else and our peers, like you said, but we have a unique opportunity, and the challenges, the vision of our leadership, and where we're headed within the organization, that we've been highly successful of like recruiting some of this younger talent through various programs that we have within the agency.
You talked about the cybersecurity inspections that DIA does. I know CIO, the DIA CIO, Doug Costa, yesterday talked a little bit about the coordination that DIA does with other IC agencies and around the Defense Department. Can you talk about that and how that collaborative approach helps boost cybersecurity in the IC?
Yep, I think I'd go back to the key word of this conference. We talk about integrated deterrence. It's the integration, and by that I mean the partnerships that we have across our community. So intimately partnered with our IC fellow agencies, our peers in that space. Certainly what comes to mind is organizations like NSA with their deep talent and extensive capabilities in which we've partnered for many years, and we certainly reap the benefit, if you will, in that regard. Then I'd also say from a community writ large. For example, you talk about the inspection programs, not only the inspections that we go through to evaluate our internal program, but as was mentioned briefly by Mr. Casa, we actually execute cybersecurity corrections out across the community. And again, in a partnership regard, we have a direct partnership with the Navy's NIWC Atlantic Navwar Red Team, for example, that is an integrated part of that inspection program. So it's not really just DIA, it's a reflection of how we are integrating across our community, across our DoD partner to deliver capability. And so that's key to our success. We recognize that. And then the last piece is, of course, the industry partnerships in that regard. And they are by far, the largest, most critical partner we have in being able to sort of function, if you will, as a force multiplier in our ability to deliver success.
Yeah, and just to add to that, our team has kind of an incredible depth with relationships through these partners, the community, as well as the commercial space. And I think, again, in the success space, we've been highly successful there, kind of exploiting or like continuing those relationships, showing where we add value, and it's not just trying to siphon or take everything that's been built, but also how we can contribute back, and where we're looking at some of the hard problems as well to embrace some of the changes and things that have occurred through not only industry, but within the partner space of the community, and how we can help further the ball from a corporateness perspective across the IC, the DoD, and the federal sector. So.
I want to end on AI ML, just because we are in 2024. You can't have a conversation
It's
without
the
that.
buzzwords. We have to.
It's the most important thing. Not really, but it is something that certainly is a conversation that we're all having in all these conversations. How are you leveraging it? How are you using it to get through all this data and help the people do the real work?
So I'll say AI ML as the buzzword, and of course let's throw a little zero trust on top of that to sort of double the buzzword discussion. But ultimately, of course, the technology offers exponential opportunities, right? And I think it's not unique in the cybersecurity mission space. I think it's across, all facets of not only mission from a intelligence community or DoD perspective, of course, industry. I think we're seeing the explosion in the recognition of that value. Certainly comes true, I know, from my I'll say my own son's perspective of how easy they can use things like Chat GPT to accomplish in seconds what would normally take hours to deliver, whether it's a homework assignment or things like that. So that certainly applies in our world. We recognize that. I think the uniqueness in our mission space is, of course, the critical need to ensure the outcome has a degree of integrity and accuracy. Of course, accuracy in the defense intelligence world can be a life or death discussion. And so governance is a key factor in that regard of how we might embrace, deploy those technologies. So some might say we're slow to move, to recognize the value, or to adopt and integrate in all facets of our mission. And I think in some cases, I think the old phrase is slow is pro, in which case we are absolutely embracing, we are working, but we are establishing the necessary governance around the underlying security and defense of, if you will, the establishment of these capabilities so that they're not subjective to, in essence, corruption, if you will, and such that the integrity of that output is of the value that we need. And then ultimately, I think in our business, certainly depending upon what implementation you're looking at, direct support to warfighters, for example, there'll always be a degree of human in the loop, if you will, to be able to make sure that we're putting the right information that we have a degree of confidence in where needed.
And I guess I'll end with, I kind of want to go back to earlier in the discussion about the people and talent. So in this space, right, as we develop the younger talent and look at more of the technical resources out there, the data scientists that we want to start aligning within the cyber realm, within the AI space, it takes experts within your domain to make AI be effective. So we want to build from the ground up those data science capabilities within our core mission area, so they have a familiarity and an in-depth understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, to then reduce the bias within the AI models, so we get the integrity within the data outputs that Tim was referring to.
Yeah, the garbage in, garbage out thing is always
That's
in the back of my mind when it comes to these training the algorithms and even the prompts and those kinds of things. It's harder than you think.
Absolutely.
Without question.
So, gentlemen, thanks so much for doing this with us.
All right.
This podcast was a production of GovCIO Media and Research. If you like what you heard, please leave a 5-star rating and review on the podcast platform of your choice. And don't forget to tell a friend or colleague. To explore the rest of our content, visit our website, govciomedia.com. Do you have a topic you want us to discuss? Contact us at newsletter@govcio.com. I'm Ross John Fortuné.